Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. The Galaxy S20 Ultra has been getting all the attention lately as Samsung's top flagship, but those of you looking to downsize might turn your attention to the smaller Galaxy S20. Does it offer better value than that $1,400 behemoth? Let's find out in our full review. Despite its small size compared to the other S20 variants, this S20 doesn't disappoint. It brings the premium features you expect from a Samsung flagship in a more compact package. Well, relatively. It's about the same size as last year's Note 10. It does have a few differences from the others. There's a different camera setup, a smaller battery, and the S20 doesn't bring full 5G capability, though depending on your needs, you might not miss these very much. There isn't anything groundbreaking here design-wise. The back is made of curved Gorilla Glass, which tapers to the aluminum frame. The cloud blue finish looks nice, and when it catches light, it erupts into a burst of color. The build is sturdy, of course, and you get IP68 protection against water and dust for peace of mind. On the front is a tall 6.2-inch Super AMOLED screen. It's crazy to think that this is a compact device these days, but it's as small as the S20s get. The screen has a QHD resolution and a tiny punch hole cutout for the selfie cam. Just like its siblings, the S20's nearly bezel-less display has subtle curved edges, and it also has the option for a 120Hz screen refresh rate, which makes moving elements look much smoother to the eye. This display looks awesome with those deep AMOLED blacks, and colors are vibrant if you opt for that in settings. It's also the sharpest screen of the three S20 models, since it is smaller. But like the other S20s, there is a catch. You can only enjoy the 120Hz refresh rate if you turn the resolution down to 1080p. Still, the display is quite bright, maxing out at over 810 nits in auto mode when in bright conditions. You'll have no problem using this phone out in the sun. Under the display sits the fingerprint reader, and just like on the Note 10, it's far from the fastest around. It works fine, but we expected Samsung to improve on that this year. For your audio, the S20 has a stereo speaker setup. One speaker is on the bottom, and the earpiece acts as the second speaker. Loudness is very good, and the sound is well balanced too. If you want to plug in headphones, you'll need to use USB-C ones. Luckily, a pair comes included in the box, but if you need a 3.5mm adapter, you'll have to pick one up elsewhere. There is a decent amount of storage on this device, 128 gigs, which is expandable through microSD. The user interface is Samsung's One UI 2.1 over Android 10. The interface is quite polished and fluid, especially if you have the 120Hz refresh rate on. It's all quite familiar if you've used a Samsung phone recently. The gesture navigation is the same here as on Android 10, where swiping from the sides goes back. Also, now Google Duo has been incorporated into the phone app, allowing you to start a video call right from the dialer. Under the hood is one of two different chipsets depending on the market, either an Exynos 990 or a Snapdragon 865. Ours is the Exynos version, and performance is awesome as you'd expect from a new flagship. In benchmarks, it's on par with and sometimes even better than the S20 Ultra, since this phone doesn't have as large of a screen to power. One thing we need to mention though is that the Galaxy S20 has a tendency to heat up under heavy use, in fact even more so than the Ultra. This phone isn't the worst we've seen as far as thermal throttling goes, but you should keep this in mind if you're planning to do a lot of heavy gaming. Our S20 doesn't support 5G at all, though you can get a version that has sub-6 5G support depending on your region. Regardless of whether your phone is 5G or 4G only, the S20's chipset will use an external cellular modem, which adds some extra power draw. In fact, one of the more lackluster features of the Galaxy S20 is its battery life, despite its sizable 4000 mAh battery. With the screen at 120Hz, the phone scored an endurance rating of just 71 hours in our tests. Changing the screen settings to 60Hz and QHD resulted in a small improvement. We measured a score of 78 hours in this case. At least charging speed is decent. The S20 comes bundled with the same 25-watt power delivery charger as the S20 Plus and the S20 Ultra. With it, the phone was able to charge from 0 to 55% in half an hour, and there's support for wireless charging too at up to 15 watts. The S20 has just 3 cameras on the back. There's a 12-megapixel main cam, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 64-megapixel telephoto camera. Just like we did with the S20 Ultra, we'll do more of a camera summary in this video, and there will be a separate camera review if you're interested in the details. In daylight, quality from the main cam is excellent, as expected. Actually, these are pretty hard to tell apart from the Note 10 or the S20 Ultra, which produces 12 megapixel photos too. The 64 megapixel telephoto cam's focal length is almost the same as the main cam's, but is able to provide 3x lossless digital zoom by cropping from its large sensor, which is conventional. It doesn't use a tetracell or quad Bayer color filter array. In good light, these look great up to about 4x, but of course not quite as good as the S20 Ultra's 4x optical zoom. And as you zoom further toward the maximum 30x, quality steadily decreases. You're actually also able to shoot 64 megapixel photos from the telephoto cam without the zoom, and in daylight they have more detail than you get from the main cam. The ultra-wide cam is the same as on the S20 Plus and the Ultra. It's solid, with decent quality, but nothing outstanding. The ultra-wide does impress at night though. From either the main cam or the ultra-wide, quality in low light is quite the same as the S20 Ultra. That is to say, excellent. However, zoom shots at night are just okay, similar to what you get out of the Note 10, and there's no night mode available here. As far as video goes, 4K footage taken during the day looks great. 8K video is a major new feature for Samsung's phones, and on the S20 it's actually taken with a 64 megapixel camera. It looks nicer than the 4K, though that's hard to appreciate unless you watch on an equally high-res monitor. So that's the Samsung Galaxy S20. It brings a more compact design than the other S20 models, while still providing things like a high refresh rate curved AMOLED, awesome cameras, stereo speakers, the latest chipset, fast charging, and waterproofing. But one thing I'm not a fan of is the battery life. Even though there are a few other downsides, like the thermal throttling, the lack of full 5G support, and some minor downgrades with the cameras, I feel like the Lackluster Battery is the biggest letdown here. And depending on your needs, it might make this phone not even worth getting. Now, with that said, if you don't mind frequently charging your phone, the rest of the experience is pretty much as great as what you get with the Plus or the Ultra. At 900 euros, the S20 still isn't cheap, but with all of its features it offers a ton of value, and is worth a recommendation. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe and see you on the next one.